Hello, everyone. My name is Maximus Nolan. I'm an IBM Summit intern this summer, and I want to make this quick video following up on our Python lecture series. So today, or in the last series at least, we discussed the basics of Python and how to get Python on your computer. So if you're all set with that and you want to learn just a bit more, I had some people in my breakout group ask me a couple of questions about Python libraries and how you can actually code in Python in your shell. So I'll go over what all that stuff means in a couple of seconds. So on my screen right now, I have command prompt open. So I'm on a Windows machine right now, but if you're on a Mac, this is called terminal. And essentially in terminal or command prompt, I'm gonna use them interchangeably because it's just depending on your operating system that you're using. They both do the same thing. We can actually write Python code in here and play around with it. So I'll show you guys how to do that. So if you type in Python like this and hit enter, if Python's on your computer, you'll get this message that says Python, and then this right here is gonna be the version. So I'm running Python version 3.9.6. And now we can go ahead and start to write Python code. So I can do something like print hello world, just like that, and it will say hello world. So there are advantages and disadvantages to this. This is really great for learning, but the disadvantage is that you can't really save anything command prompt. So that's why we use a thing called an IDE. An IDE is something like PyCharm, where we can go ahead and we can write code like print hello world, and then we can run it. And then this file is saved in an actual file. I call it Python file, and we can use it for later use or give it to people for a project, for example. So there's lots of uses for both of them, but I'm gonna talk about the command line or the shell. They're used interchangeably and why they're important. So the command line is really important because this gives us the ability to install Python libraries on our computer. So I'll go ahead and explain what a library is real quick. So notice here how we use this function called print. And we never actually defined what a function was in our discussion, but essentially a function is going to take either an input or no inputs, and it's going to do something for us. And we can call that function to go ahead and do whatever we told it to do. So for example, I can go into my IDE and I can create a function, use the word def for a function. I can just call it function. And I can have mine just print hello world. And then if I call this function later on, it'll just print hello world for me, which is really nice. And so print is a function in itself, but notice here how we never actually defined what print was. Print was given to us by Python. Now, there are tons of other functions that Python gives to us. We covered length, we covered input in our first series, but I want to go ahead and talk about libraries and why they're important. Libraries are essentially code that someone else is giving to us, and we can use in our own projects or Python scripts. So a very good example of this is going to be the library called Pandas. Pandas is really helpful because it allows us to analyze Excel files and pull information out of them so we can analyze the data inside the Excel file for later use. So if you Google Pandas, you're going to find something like this, and I'll tell you all this stuff right here. It says, oh, how to use Pandas. So there's lots of material on how to actually learn Pandas, but today I want to cover how do you get these libraries installed on your computer. And so the first thing I want to cover here is it says, oh, if you want to install it, what does that even mean? What does pip install pandas mean? So essentially, if you want to install a Python library, we have to use this program called pip. And I'm going to link this in the description, but pip is super easy to install. Just follow the steps on the website, and you should get to work in about 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and have you guys pause the video. And once you do that, and this is working, come back to it. All right, cool. Welcome back. So I'm going to go ahead and clear my terminal. And once you install pip, you can go ahead and check to see if you have the right version or install properly by typing pip3 -- version on your terminal or command prompt. And once you do this, it'll tell you, okay, cool, you have this version of pip installed, and it will tell you where it's installed. So once you have this and it works, perfect. If there were issues, feel free to contact me. Or honestly, this is a great learning opportunity for you guys to go online and search the error it gave you. And typically it'll take you to a website called Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is amazing because tons of people have had issues like you have in the past. And if you just Google that, there'll typically be someone who has a response for it that says, oh, go ahead and do this. If the fix seems a bit complicated, that's completely fine. Come talk to me. I'm happy to help you guys through this issue. So once you have that ready, that means we're ready to go ahead and install libraries. So let's say, for example, I wanted to install Pandas on my computer. It says right here, we have to go ahead and use this command, pip install pandas. And this format holds for every Python library. If you want to install a Python library, you'll just say pip install and then the name of the library. So I'm going to say pandas. Before I hit enter, though, I don't want to cover one thing. On Mac, it's a bit different because you on a Mac have Python 2 installed by default, and you had to install Python 3. So the only change you have to make is just be sure to put a pip and then a 3 right here for Python 3. So pip 3 just means Python 3. And on Windows, it works the exact same. So I'm going to say pip 3 install pandas. Hit enter, and then, oh, look at that. Cool. So we start installing it, and then we get all this stuff right here. And then I already have these libraries installed, so we're all good there. And then to test to see if this worked, you can go ahead and open up Python. So it's installing it right now. So I'm going to pause the video, and when it's not installing, we can go back. All right, so now we have Pandas installed. So this is just one of the many libraries you can use. There are tons of other ones. So if you have a project idea and you think it can be a bit complicated, go ahead and Google a library that exists for that function, and I guarantee you it exists. There's thousands of Python libraries, and you install them all the exact same way. Use pip3 install and then the name of the library. So once we have that done, we can go ahead and test out to see if it installed properly. We can open up our Python like this on our terminal, or you can go into an IDE like PyCharm or VS Code. And then from that, we can go ahead and just type import pandas. And if no error is given to us, that means we installed it properly. And so the next question is, well, how do I use pandas? Well, lucky for you, there's tons of resources online. So Pandas is a whole website on this, and it talks about what's a data frame, how does that work, how do I make plots, tons of things, right? And this is very applicable to your internship. So if you had to make a project analyzing data, or you had to do something where you pulled information from an Excel sheet for a client to do calculations based off of, Python is really good at doing this stuff. And again, learning it is super easy. You're always welcome to Google stuff on Stack Overflow or just Google things in general. There's tons of resources out there. So I just want to make this quick video to go over what pip is and what libraries are. So I just want to do a quick recap because that's a lot of information to take in. Pip allows us to install Python libraries or packages, those two being the exact same thing, online. To get pip, follow the link in the description and download it. It's super easy. Once you do that, check to see that you have the right version of pip by doing pip3 version. I got to get out of Python here, sorry. To get out of Python on your terminal, just type an exit like this with the two braces, and then I'm back into my terminal. Pip3 version. We have the right version of pip, and then to install a library, we say pip3 install, and then pandas. And if you already have it, it will say requirement satisfied, and then we can go ahead and see, do we have the library installed by going into Python, and then we can import the library. And now we have access to everything Pandas has to offer. And you can do this with any library you want. So this is a bit more advanced, but I have people asking about it, and I think it's just good information to know. So if you guys have any questions about that, I'm happy to help out. Or if you have any ideas for a project, always go ahead and Google those, see what other people have done in the past, and I guarantee you that someone's done your project before, and they have plenty of tips on it, on what libraries they used and how to use those libraries. So yeah, that's about it. So thank you for watching, and have a good Friday.